Right, we should be through in a second. Bear with us, please, folks. Yeah, right, we are through. Okay. Right. Well, in that case, 3, 2, 1. Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show. It's jam-packed, and John is going to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Jolé. Yes, it's been an interesting week, actually, because I've been on my travels again this week down south, researching areas down, and including Glastonbury as well, which is always an amazing place to visit. And we had a fantastic time. The weather was beautiful. But what it also meant is that the time that I usually am putting into the show, it was kind of a little bit condensed then into the weekend. But nevertheless, it's all coming together very nicely. And as you will be aware, basically, he says bringing his notes forward, we're talking about doubling down on divine neutrality, and there's a good reason for that. And really, we're just going to start with a little section here from the off, because this is the scene setter, and this is kind of where we took this from last week. But again, there's good reason why there is a degree of repetition in this, because the message, the underlying message, is becoming more and more relevant, as you will see. So if you bear with me a second, I am going to just go straight into that first little 2-minute clip. Bear with me.
We now come to Qumran, the place where over 960 documents ultimately were found. Some of them 2,200 years old. One of the most powerful documents, the War Scroll. It says that from the time the first humans have walked this earth, there have been beings who are what are called the Watchers. The Watchers are the ones that record with objectivity, the sons of lightness and the sons of darkness. In the end, one last great conflict between darkness and light, and the texts give us a choice. Will we perpetuate this cycle of darkness, suffering, and war? Or will we wake up and choose a new cycle, a cycle of peace and cooperation? They always give us a choice. Will we choose peace?
On one platform, there's what we will call dark consciousness. On one other platform, light consciousness. 2 years, we told you, be ready for the dark. It will not give up without a battle. And now the battle is here. It's all over the news. Everything that they are doing is calculated to scare you to death. Fear is black. If you shine your light and staying out of fear, the whole world will be brighter for it. Nothing can survive your light. Nothing.
Okay, so that's that first little section. And we're back. So the whole point of that is certainly over the last week, we saw the beginnings of it prior to this, but in this last week, we've seen escalations of tensions in the Middle East. We've seen Israel attacking Iran. We've seen Iran firing back. We've now seen America entering into it. And, you know, this is kind of thing that we know that the final battle that Gregg Braden talks about, you can, from the War Scrolls and from all the other ancient texts, or many of them anyway, certainly the suggestion is that the battle really, one of the features of it is it's in the Holy Land and thereabouts in the Holy Lands. And we are being drawn towards looking at the narrative that is taking place right now. So this is the big test, okay? Because if you watch the news, which I try not to, you will be drawn in to some of the density. But the important thing is to find your divine neutrality, is to be able to find your inner peace, to find your joy, regardless, because whatever you focus your energy upon is what you are feeding. Okay. So what you want to do is feed the good stuff. You want to feed the joy. You want to feed. Now, how do you do that when you're confronted with war? How do you do that when you're confronted with a battle that may escalate further? And, this is the test, right? It's not going to be easy. We chose to be here to take this test and to rise above it. And I think this was the thing we were talking about last week. Jolé and I were, it was really the focus was rising above this and to tap into the quantum field, right? The one field, that was where that, again, in the notes below is the link to the documentary that comes from, which is the one field. Brilliant. If you've never seen it, put aside a couple of hours and watch it in its totality. It is genius. But what Gregg's talking about there and what Kryon then goes to explain is that nothing can survive our light. So as we shine our light brighter, then we will win this. This is not something that we have to drop into fear, because fear is feeding the quantum energy and entangling with the energy of fear and the darker energies. So whilst we're tempted to go there, the fact is we don't have to. We're starting to get into our divine sovereign being and to be able to step above and beyond. So, Jolé, I'd like to bring you in to get your comment on this as well.
Yeah, the one field I would definitely recommend as a film. I second that emotion. And the light that's within us is really what it's all about, is where it lies, and connecting with that light within others. And although we see what is going on in today's world, and it looks pretty daunting, it just encourages us to continue to love, to even more so in this environment, try to detach from such negativity and such violence and move into really loving and supporting and high vibing. And one of the ways in which you can always help is to put positive energy. Spend some of your meditation time visualizing beautiful gold, white light, blue healing light, whatever it is, over in these areas, over in places where maybe even you have an issue, maybe you bathing in that light, right? So it's bittersweet in that, as humanity, why do we feel the need to have to struggle and be, dragged across pavement, kind of, so to speak, in order for us to learn? I really would like that to end. So let's work together to really uplift ourselves and one another.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And again, we're going to keep doubling down on what we did last week. Again, it's doubling down on divine neutrality. It's actually finding that place, that eagle's perch, where it's going on. But we, as divine beings that we are and creators, can actually, particularly when we come together in collective consciousness, right? When we come together in group consciousness, it's enormously powerful. And that's where we're heading to. And that's what this show is really about. Again, just doubling down on that again. So,
I mean, we can't say enough about that. Double down, triple down, just because we're bombarded with so much negativity. So at the end of the day, we understand, and as at Elevated Planet, we'd like to be the hand that is reaching down to help you figure out a way to reach a place where you can get to neutrality and get to a place of joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it can get to one of those stages where people, do get that, and you hear it time and again. How can you feel happy? How can you feel joy in a world that is filled with pain and with war and all sorrow and all this kind? But this is the big test, right? This is why we chose to come here, because we wanted to have this opportunity to rise above the density and create a world of unspeakable beauty. It's not something you know from birth that that's what you're here to do, but you just grow into this and you trust in the process. And you also, I think the other thing, Jolé, that always strikes me is that everything is exactly how it is supposed to be, right? And that's a strange thing to say because, okay, well, who would orchestrate war? Who would orchestrate? Well, it's all to coming back out of the cycle of separateness that we've been in for 13,000 years, coming into this new cycle of unity that we're now stepping into. But the old cycle has to break apart. And that is what we're living through. It's the end of one cycle, moving into the next. It's not a smooth passage, but it's part of the journey. And you can choose to make it joyful or at the best neutral.
Correct. And one of the things that came to me while you were speaking was, what is one thing we can do as an individual to stop the negativity in our lives? And one of the ways is tit for tat, or trying to get vengeance or get back on people that maybe have done something to you. Why not take that moment to bathe them in blue and green light? Take a moment and walk away from that. Now I'm not saying put yourself in harm's way.
No.
I'm talking about the petty, passive aggressive moments that people may have, and to smile through that and maybe get neutral. And like it says in the 4 agreements, take nothing personal. And that's one of the easiest ways to begin to attract in better energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. What we focus upon, we get more of, right? So focus on the things that you want in your life. But do it with gratitude. Don't do it because you've got a lack,
Absolutely.
right? So yeah, that's it. You've got to, and again, we cover off a bit of Pam again as we go through the program. Pam Gregory, in terms of what she says about the meditation that we're going to keep circling back on as well, which is the daily meditation that goes out at 7 o'clock. That is there to help raise collective consciousness to the new Earth frequency.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a blessing and an honor, to be able to be a part of that and to have a purpose. And for everyone that's watching, you also have a purpose moving forward to spread the light, to spread what is light? It's positive energy. It's bringing light or positive energy into negative experiences. It's keeping the vibration high. It's staying neutral. Part of what they call maturity, but it's really not. It's just becoming more aware, is being able to keep your mood one way and not have these ups and downs and these bipolar, what they call them, moments, because we can all be that way, right? We can all have our moments, but to actually sit with yourself and what does neutrality look like for you? What does it feel like for you? Oftentimes we talk in these platitudes, but we got to get real to get some traction around some of these concepts, right? What does this feel like? You know what anxiety and stress feels like. Why don't you sit with neutrality?
Yeah.
And then put it in action.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I think this is, again, that's going to be a common theme that we're going to be sticking with. We're going to be consistent with this because this is important now. This is growing in importance, but also rallying around a specific project, I think, is important. Because you could always start off and try and create your own, but why would you do that, right? We're not going to go and recreate our own wheel. We're going to actually take what's already in motion and done in a wonderful way, because you don't need a guided meditation, but you can have one if you want one. And we will come back to that because this is all about us tapping in with a common objective, which is all about raising consciousness, getting us magnetizing the new Earth frequency, right? That's what it's about.
Yes.
Because within that is peace. It's gratitude, love, joy, all the kind of good stuff we all want. So Jolé, shall we head into the next section, do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to have 2 items to show you here. We got Anne Tucker, who channels the angels, and she put this one out on the Friday, I think it was, and it struck me that this has a lot of resonance that we can, because this is a time of change, right? And this is the angels telling us how to cope with massive change. And so this is really very worth listening to. And the next section is um, Lee Harris and Pam Gregory, who last night put out their Solstice broadcast, which was brilliant. So Lee Harris, who channels the Z's, and the element that we got in there on Focus is when Pam Gregory is effectively interviewing the Z's and taking a almost 10-minute section of that to go through what they see forthcoming for this second half of 2025 and beyond. And it's fascinating stuff. And it really tells us a lot about this battle for consciousness that's going on right now. So without further ado, we are going to switch screens again and off we go.
The angels are basically saying that they have been telling us all along, yes, we are going through a period of massive change. And they've been talking about this really since they first started coming through, since I started this channel back in 2020. And the messages they gave us then, many of them at the time I brought them through in originally they seemed so far-fetched, so crazy. And now some of them have already occurred, and many of them are so much more possible based on the events of today. The things that they talked about seem more and more likely to be occurring very soon. So they've been telling us about lots more, the Earth right now, the big uptick in Earth activity. They've been telling us about that, but also the political events, the economic events, all of this stuff that seems to be a gradual pulling apart. If you could say, like, the world is like a rubber band that's being stretched and stretched and stretched, not in one area, but in all areas, right? Everything in terms of just the polarization among people. So social unrest. And if you look at that in many countries around the world, lots of social unrest and unrest between people and ideologies. And then we have the economy on so many different points is being stretched and pulled, and, pulling a rubber band to a certain point, it just won't pull anymore. Politically, right? And then also in terms of war, there's so much going on in the world, and then the Earth itself having this major upheaval, more volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and solar activity, and so it's not in one area, it's in so many areas at once. So all of this is creating a platform on which massive change can and is occurring. So this message from the angels are telling us that we need to stay, or they're suggesting, they never tell us what we have to do. They always suggest, but they're suggesting that we think of all of this and recognize the potential inside of it for our own highest and best expression. That this is all a possibility for change for the future, for a better expression of who we are. They want to remind us that the earth itself is a place of rich opportunity, and they say, and rich resources. And they say that in times of change, those resources don't go anywhere. It's like energy remains constant. It just changes form. And that we are master manifestors. So they're saying that they want us to focus in on what's happening in the world, not as a period of destruction, but a period of freeing up energy, like clay that can be molded into something better. So it's a beautiful, very encouraging and positive messages that's really reminding us who we are, that we have nothing to fear, that we are the creators of our reality, and that we are meant to create a bright future for ourselves.
You were taught, many of you, to see galactic energy, or we will use the example of extraterrestrial, if you like, as other. But in fact, what we would say, it is origin, meaning you on Earth have always been blended with the universe. You were just told a different story about who you are when at a certain point in history it became convenient for that story to be told to you because you would be better controlled.
Thank you, Ziz. And it seems to be that we are actually in the process of the biggest jump for humanity in evolutionary terms that has occurred. in many thousands of years.
Yes, and it will take some time. It will take some decades. We have said before that 2025 onwards, even though you are still dealing with some of these, shall we say, frequency wars that play out on Earth, you will start to see the emergence of more new Earth aspects, information, technology, and ways of being. 2025 onwards was always destined to be the year where the seeds of all of this start to become slowly but surely more visible. What you are going to see over the course of the next 2 to 3 decades is a merging of the consciousness of Earth with the consciousness of the universe. But in order for that to be fully allowed to take place, the old guard has to be, shall we say, challenged and diminished in its power. That is why you are seeing so much, we will call it, panic on Earth. Some of you are feeling the panic empathically. You are feeling a little panicked about this time, and some of you interpret that as if you are correct that things are going to be bad. You feel panic, and so you tell yourself, well, this must mean what's coming isn't good. And we say, no, it doesn't mean that at all. The panic many of you are feeling is the panic that is in the air. There are those who are in charge of, let's say, some of the agendas that keep humanity limited or controlled. They are also in panic. Hence, they are making fast and big moves. Now, it was always destined that they would not be able to, shall we say, clamp consciousness going forward. And this was the period of time where they would try. And you have seen that play out over the last 4 or 5 years on Earth. But you have also, as a result of that, seen a people revolution play out, which is more people waking up to some of the falsehoods that have been hoisted upon you. And more people are beginning to recognize, no, that does not smell right. That does not feel right. That does not seem right. That is what is the slow, energetic revolution that is occurring. And then there will be those who will, we will put it this way, tackle the bullies head on. It won't be all of you. There will be those on the planet who are built for that, who are designed for that, who are either the bullies in another life or know who these bullies are from another life and are not as afraid of them as some are. So between all of you, you will usher in this new age, and you are ushering it in now. We understand when you look at the outside world, those of you who want to see physical changes happen faster, it can be frustrating. But we will tell you that the revolution is already here. It's already active, and it can't be stopped now. It is too far along, and you are going to be ushered through it in the coming years. But what we will say to you each as individuals is to take care of your personal revolution. Your personal revolution will play into the global revolution. Sometimes some of you worry, am I doing enough? And we say, go where your energy calls you. If you aren't doing something in a certain area, ask yourself, is it really that I am not disciplined enough to do it? Or is it that I cannot find my way to flow in that direction, so I should trust that? Which directions can you flow in? Which relationships can you flow in? That is very important. As you are letting go of old patterns and old paradigms, it's important for you to open up to the ones that bloom. That is how you create a new world and a new garden of consciousness on the planet. Pam, you are an example of that. Lee is also doing the work he wishes to do in the world, and we know for sure that at least 75% of you who are tuning into this are doing exactly the same in your way, in your life. It doesn't mean that any of you that we just mentioned will still have a life that looks exactly like this in 5 to 10 years. It might, and your energy might feel different in it, but for many of you, there will be shifts that will take place. So you are all changing and becoming more, we will say, galactic, but more than that, for galactic can be a somewhat scientific word. What we would like to point you towards is you are becoming more attuned with the frequency of oneness on the planet. Oneness is a true home for all of you spiritually. And so many of you are practicing oneness as often as you can and sharing oneness as often as you can. It is very hard to sustain it on Earth in its current energy field. But there are many of you who are getting better at increasing the amount of time you can be in it and share it all of the time. So that is what we will say in answer to that.
Beautiful, Ziz. Thank you. And just one final question. 2025 seems to be the greatest year of change and turbulence. And the next 3 years seem to be particularly accelerated, but smoothing out a little way as we get beyond 2025. Would you have that perspective?
Yes, we have always said that 2025 to 2030 is going to be a key in the Earth moving into what we would call a brighter direction. But you don't get to a brighter direction without kicking up a lot of dust in the cleaning process. And it is also true that this second half of the year is set to be a little more, shall we say, volcanic. And what that will do for the planet is it will accelerate some of these shifts. You see, without propulsive moments or propulsive events, the Earth and her people do not necessarily change with any sense of speed. So, even though there will be some moments and events in the next 9 to 12 months that will be quite alarming, or shall we say triggering in the moments that they happen, what you will all see down the road is that they were key moments in bringing more dramatic change to Earth. Because what happens when we will say, be it climate events or human events that change the landscape come along, is it wakes everyone up to what's important. And the more people wake up to what's important and the spell of human life gets broken for a period of time, that is when people activate in ways that they are not willing to have the lid put back on the bottle that they are contained in afterwards. So, as much as we know as humans you would wish for things to be smoother sooner, we will tell you that some of these propulsive or more explosive events are required for the changes that you wish to see. We are not saying that we are in charge of that. We are simply observing what is playing out on an energetic level. But we are saying that you signed up for these times, and you are correct that things will, we will use the word stabilize, even though that is a little controversial because you are a planet in strong movement for the next couple of decades. But a new frequency will be stabilized when you get through this year, particularly from summer 2026 onwards. That will be more evident, but we would argue it's evident right now. It just depends on how you're looking, where you're looking, and when you are looking. Many get very focused on the most dramatic thing that's happening, and they miss seeing the beauty of the small acts of consciousness that are happening around the drama. You see, you've all been trained to focus on drama, the biggest noise, the loudest noise. And that is actually a very, we will say, seductive way of being for you as humans. But you've been trained into that. Your true nature is to focus on subtlety and peace. And that true nature is what many of you are allowed to once more connect with inside yourselves after thousands and thousands and thousands of years where that was discouraged and in many cases forbidden. The time of that is ending.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ziz. So, yeah, so Lee Harris channels the Z's, as we know. They are a galactic collective of 88. And their wisdom, I've always found deeply profound and very accurate. So when Lee is going to do something like this, particularly with Pam as well, then I think this is always worth taking note of. So I've just made a few notes on that particular passage, and I'm going to go down that first and then bring in Jolé. And after that, I'm also going to go through some of the rest of that particular broadcast, which I don't think is available freely yet, and maybe a little while before they release it on their channels. But I've got a recording of it, and I also know what Pam was saying from an astrological viewpoint, which was very good, and Lee also from an energetic perspective as an energy healer. So anyway, to cover off the points that were made by the Z's in that passage there, he mentioned that we've always been blended. Our DNA is a cosmic mix, and that is in so many texts. It's to me, it's not even a question. But yeah, I think I forget what the number is now. Maybe 22 different types of genetic materials that have come together to create this human frame. And it's very interesting, actually, just to steal a piece from the bit where Lee Harris was saying, because he did refer to the Z's when he was talking about this, and he said the Z's describe us, humanity, as we are biological technology where the technology has not been allowed to be switched on. So this period that we have been in this era of separation as opposed to unity, we're moving back into unity, is this era when we've effectively been dumbed down from from the DNA perspective. We've got 12 strands of DNA, only 2 of them active, right? It's been adjusted, and you can see that it's been adjusted. So what's happening now is that this is all coming back on stream. And it's very interesting because there's all sorts of things. It's like the 24th chromosome that comes on and it comes online. And as you get upgraded, then you start to access knowledge and wisdom from past lives, which at the moment, you plenty of people on the planet don't believe they've even had past lives. And I totally get that. But like, to me, it's an absolute fact. I don't know how many times I've been here. I'm guessing a few hundred. And clearly, I have no memory of any of them. But the 24th chromosome allows that wisdom to come through, and that is part of the upgrade. So biological technology, where the technology has not been allowed to be switched on according to the Z's, makes a lot of sense to me. The old guard has to be challenged, and they are in panic and making fast and big moves. We're starting to see it, right? I mean, we've been seeing it for a while, ever since COVID was brought in and so on and so forth, and people trying to stoke up the war games and everything like that and distract us with things that take us, which are designed to encourage us down off our eagle's perch and into that quantum field of fear, division, and anger, So, the revolution is already here. But we need to focus on our personal revolution because that feeds the collective revolution. Now, another thing that they mentioned, which I think is a really important thing, is knowing what we're here for. Because, when people have gone through quantum hypnosis technique and stuff like that, invariably the question everybody wants to know is, okay, well, what is my life's purpose? You don't enter the world with it written on a little card for you to say, oh, okay, that's what you got to discover it as you go along. You do the things, and what you learn is to follow your feelings. Spirit always communicates to you through feelings, and it's learning to trust that and not just follow narrative and not just follow the false programming conditioning that we've been conditioned into for decades. It's not easy to switch off from, but this is the era in which we actually achieve that. So, and also that point that was made by the Z's about, sometimes we're tempted to beat ourselves up. Still haven't done that. And I'll give an example. Okay, social media, elevated planet. Really, you would look at it and say, yeah, of course you're going to access Facebook. You're going to access this. You're going to access, whatever's out there. We don't do any of it. The truth be told, we do YouTube. Now, why is that? Because I am totally uncomfortable with social media. I don't like social media. Jolé follows a similar pattern on this. So do you fight it and force yourself to do something that doesn't feel right? Or do you just kind of follow your instincts? And, we're following our instincts. I think that things will happen in the right order, in the right way. People will share this across platforms on our behalf. Maybe that's the way that it works. But just trust the process. If it's not natural, if it doesn't feel joyful, if it doesn't feel good, just do what does. And to be honest, I love doing this. I love us pulling together our programs. I love, the learning from Jolé every week when I get to go through these, as well as learning from the materials that I'm digging down into. So you've got to work out, like, what is it that brings you joy? Because whatever it is that lights you up, feel the joy. That's what you're here to do. So we're changing and becoming more attuned with oneness, right? And again, that is really what this is about, right? Moving into that unity consciousness, the Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the oneness consciousness. But he makes a good point, which is that because of the energies on the planet right now, it's not easy to stay in oneness because of the distractions and the way we've been conditioned and programmed. So we have to acknowledge the fact that, we're going to break out of this, periodically. But the more we can bring ourselves back into this mindset, the better. And what better way to do it than on a nightly basis at 7 p.m., whenever you're available, because nobody's going to be able to do it 7 nights a week, but to tune in to that meditative state, to magnetize the new earth consciousness, that initiative put out there by Pam Gregory, which we're going to go back to very shortly. That is starting to attune your energy into this on a more regular basis. But not only that, but it's attuning the collective consciousness into this same high frequency energy and bringing peace and love and joy and gratitude, and just really throwing that into the quantum field once a day on an elevated basis, because it comes back to that squared thing, right? So the number is squared. If you've got 100 people, it's not the value of 100 people, it's 100 times 100, it's 10,000. If it's 10,000 people, it's 10,000 times 10,000, which is 100 million. And Pam, as a very educated guess, that she gets sometimes tens of thousands. So what's that number? It's fantastic, right? So coming together, this is our weapon of choice. This is something we have got all the ammunition we will ever need, and we don't need the military industrial complex to get us there. So, that weapon, which is love, which is gratitude, which is joy, which is peace, which is compassion, all that is what we want to put into the quantum field. And that's what takes us to a world of unspeakable beauty. Okay, 2025 to 2030, the Z's talked about that as the key to get to a brighter direction for planet Earth. 2025 is going to be a little more volcanic. And I find that term very interesting, because volcanic is something that is going on around the world right now, whether it's in Europe, whether it's on the Ring of Fire, and various places around the earth. At the moment, we're seeing a lot of volcanic activity. We're seeing earthquake activity, the seismic activity. And to that point that was being made by the Z's, we've always said the same thing, saying chaos is a prerequisite for change, because when we're still allowed to stay in our comfort zone, we stay in our comfort zone. Humanity will stay in its comfort zone. You need to be forced outside of it. And this is a time of enormous change. So we need people to be awakened. So we will see things around us which are there for a purpose, a divine purpose. It may not be something you would imagine you would want to happen, but these are the kind of things that are going to take place, whether it's natural disasters, whether it's war energy, whether it's division energy, or political, or whatever it's going to be. We're going to see it emerge. But we're also going to see a lot of truth starting to come forward now. And a lot of revelations, and people will be shocked. People will be shocked to know the truth of what has really been going on. So awakening many from the human spell that we have been under. Okay. So we signed up for this time, and that is something that the Z's always say, and it is absolutely true. I know this to be true. We came here because we knew this was going to be a time of enormous change. It doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable. Yeah. But we wanted the challenge, because, I might be 65 years old here on Earth, but I'm billions of years old as a soul, right? As we all are. So it doesn't matter, right? It's the blink of an eye. But to be here on the planet at this time is enormous, right? It is such an opportunity for soul growth, and to be able to add to the light. And it's exciting. Summer 2026, it starts to calm down and to ease its way out. And they make the point, don't focus on the drama. We're always, again, programmed and conditioned to focus on the drama. But really, that eagle's perch perspective is all more important now. Our true nature is subtlety and peace. So getting back into that 7 p.m. nightly. Right, Jolé, before I go into the rest of that particular program, what would you care to add?
You know what? When Lee Harris, the Z, spoke about the focus is on our true nature, which is subtlety and peace, I found that to be very beautiful, because that goes right back to what we were saying about neutrality. And when you see all of this that's going on, and you can get that anxiety, realizing what you spoke about, John, which is something that I struggle with because the comfort zone is so warm and cozy.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and I sit here wondering, like, why do we have to struggle in order to change? And I believe unspeakable beauty is different. I don't think unspeakable beauty looks like war and struggle. It looks like a place where maybe birthing is a struggle. But then again, there's a whole party in a wonderful situation and people uplifting and bringing into the world this beautiful child. More of that and less of this infighting and because that is the chaos and the I guess the uncomfortable energy that is moving us towards unspeakable beauty. But I ask the question, just as an individual, why? Why does it have to be that way?
Yeah.
Is it that it's that way because of the programming and the conditioning that we have been, you know, it's been twisted a lot. I mean, if we even just take our food and our seeds, for instance, and you think to yourself, Gregg Braden and his normalcy bias, no way they would want to poison us. There's no way. They're children, they have family. Why would they want to poison our seeds? Why would they
Yes.
want to give us a shot and contaminate their entire workforce? Why would they even want to put a virus out there and contaminate our entire workforce?
Yeah. I know.
So
Crazy.
I want to circle back, keep it positive, really keep your vibration high as possible during this time. And if that means that you got to turn off the news and you have to get away from that and go into nature or stay away from that, do what you got to do. But keep your vibration high because what it is holding the space for things like that to be resolved.
Yes. Very good. And that's a very good point as well. Normalcy bias. We covered that off, didn't we? Maybe
Yeah.
probably best part of a year ago now. But again, Gregg's wisdom
Yes.
about how we allow things to slide, right? Rather than tackle them, rather than, challenge
Yeah.
things. That's the problem, right? And that's
Yes.
why the Z's say the old guard has to be challenged. And that is kind of part of our role, but I'll say part of our role. They talked about the fact that the bullies. Sorry, they're talking about some people are made to tackle this right head on. Who will tackle the
Mhm.
bullies, right? Maybe because they were a bully in a past life and they basically don't have the fear factor in tackling. And again, it comes back to that thing. If it's your job, that's what you do. If you're not comfortable doing it, it's not your job, right?
Right, right. Yes.
But
And
norm,
that's beautiful that the Z's or Lee Harris is channeling them saying, look, don't force it. If it doesn't fit, if it's not something that's bringing you joy and peace, maybe you need to rethink that. Because once again, we're so programmed to go against what our intuition is telling us is our truth. So
yeah.
be mindful of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was one of the points that really struck me when I was listening to that when they put it out live last night. And I thought, yeah, that's a real good point to focus upon because it almost takes the pressure off. Because again, we're conditioned and programmed. If you're not very good at something, work even harder at it. Whereas in
Right.
reality, the fact you're not very good at it is actually giving you a clue, the fact that actually that's not your thing.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. So I'll just have a little quick run for the sake of brevity because the program went on for about an hour and 10 minutes. And obviously, we've just got to narrow that down. But what I did think I would do, and again, Jolé, you can comment on this once I get through the other side of it. But Pam shared things from her astrological perspective as she was looking at this second half of 2025 and going forward. And again, for sake of brevity, I will just keep it brief. Pam talked about revolution energy, a shift in power to the people, a revolution of choice, removing ourselves from the paradigm. It doesn't have to be a revolution on the streets. We can just choose not to feed our energy to the deliberately played out drama and narrative. It's an energetic sovereignty that is starting to rise up, which is part of the elevation of consciousness. So I love that. And then she went on to say a lot more seismic activity, again based on the astrological signs, a lot more seismic activity and volcanic activity, which is interesting because that's what the Z's then later on came to talk about, their volcanic changes. 2025 being a little bit more volcanic. So whether they were using that just as a metaphor or whether they were using that literally, we will know. But certainly we're already seeing a lot of volcanic activity, a lot of seismic activity around the world, and we're seeing a lot of solar activity that's coming in and, you know, energizing the earth, and it's feeding to that. But what she also said is that there's all mentioned about underwater volcanoes, particularly, again, because of the star signs. Earth is going, and she made the point that Earth is going through the upgrade and shaking off the old toxicity, helping to create the new Earth. So that is a great lens to view this through. Now, okay, it may not be that simple all the time for those people who are stuck in the midst of these things, but nevertheless, this is part of the, you know, getting rid of the old to bring in the new, and we'd get that on. And again, I'll just quickly bring you on this one, Jolé, because again, this is an area of your specialization. We get in that on our own personalized basis as well, correct?
Correct. As yes, as above, so below, as they say, or you know, micro, macro. So we have to remember that we are all interconnected.
Yes. Yeah. Then, so Pam also said discoveries of ancient advanced technology. And I know what they mean by this, right? Because, or she means by this as well, because this is something that I'm seeing a lot more evidence of this out there. And we spent a lot of time talking about Transylvanian Sunrise, which is the book by Radu Cinema and Peter Moon. And they talk about the discovery of tunnels in the Busigi Mountains in Romania, in Transylvania. And these tunnels, one goes down and it covers across the ocean, comes out under the Giza Plateau. And interestingly enough, they're discovering a city underneath the pyramids now, right? And the whole point of why the pyramids are there in the first place. And there's been, you know, this stuff has been known by a certain element of the population that have kept this quiet for the longest time. This is an era where we start to discover that because these three tunnels, there's one went to the Giza Plateau, one which went into Nepal or into Tibet somewhere, and the other one went into the inner earth, where the people that have met with the inner earth civilizations. And it sounds crazy, but it's, you know, the evidence upon evidence upon evidence. There has been so much that's been hidden from us. And you know, what can I say? I'll stake my reputation on it being true. Now, most people may not think that that counts for a great deal, but I honestly, hand on heart, believe that to be true. But yeah, discoveries of ancient advanced technology to do like with the pyramids, Antarctic, under ocean. There's been new discoveries made which really boggle belief, you know, because a lot of these things, those tunnels are discovered in the Busigi Mountains are believed to be 50,000 years old, built by a race of larger beings who had super advanced technology because they have got the technology that we don't even have today. So, you know, we're going to start to realize this following point that came up actually, that the true history of mankind will start to be revealed rather than the one that we've been spoon-fed throughout our lives. We will start to realize we are so much more magnificent as creator beings than we've ever been encouraged to believe. And all of this is why there has been a massive attempt to keep a lid on consciousness, because those who want to control have got to keep a lid on our consciousness. Meanwhile, it's kind of like, think of it as King Canute standing, like having his throne put on the beach, saying the tide shall not come in because he was a king. The tide was always going to come in, right? The tide is coming in. They may be doing their King Canute thing, but the higher frequencies that are coming in will not allow them to do what they've been doing. So times are changing, but we're going to get to see a lot of new technology, and that is what Pam was saying. She also mentioned about power grids, that we're likely to get power grid problems and blackouts. And one of the reasons she mentioned was because the wind and solar energies are not compatible with the way that we have the old grid system set up. And we are going to this, but the innovation side of things is we start to move towards free energy, which, as we know, was discovered over 100 years ago by Nikola Tesla and suppressed ruthlessly ever since then, in whatever form it's attempted to be brought public. So finally, this will happen because, again, as that frequency of the collective consciousness rises, then we are allowed to access more of these technologies that have been around for millions of years, really, in reality, going beyond the human experience, put it that way. So what else do we got? Oh, so then the Z's, this is what, not what the Z's were saying, but this is what Lee Harris was saying. He was saying from an energetic, intuitive point of view, he was saying, yeah, that bit about that we are biological technology, where the technology has not been allowed to be switched on. Keep your nerve, because you magnetize to you what you focus upon, and nothing is quite what it seems. So it's all a bit of a facade. Whatever's being shown to us to distract us from being the higher version of ourselves, we understand the nature of the game, therefore we're on our eagle's perch, therefore we're maintaining our higher vibration and raising it and raising it and raising it as a collective. So sorry, you don't stand a chance, you guys. Anyway, unexpected changes. Oh, that was another interesting one. Unexpected changes to the global old guard. So the expectation is, we don't know what form that takes. We don't know who it's going to be. We don't know how it's going to happen, but there will be unexpected changes to the global old guard in the second half of 2025. Economic shifts and revolution energy as a result of people being squeezed. Well, I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. I can kind of relate to it somehow myself as well. Galactic events continue to increase, getting humans ready to remember in our lifetime that we are, again, humanity is actually cosmically collected, it's galactically connected. And that is something that is going to become more and more evident. But obviously, they don't want to do it by suddenly landing on the White House lawn. They want to do it in a way where it seeps into the consciousness so that the shock is removed. And then when the time is right, then there is more, to actually be brought directly in. We are going to be starting to question the narratives, and trust in self grows and trust in the systems diminish. Okay, that's all I got so far from the thing. So what do you think, Jolé, from that lot?
I think that's wonderful. What we're basically saying, to sum it up, is take your power back. Do whatever is necessary along, parallel to the laws of the universe,
Yeah.
that is really allowing for you to keep and hold your power and then empower others. Like, this is really what it's all about. That's why you see so much of this opposite going on, right?
Yes.
It's because the more that you see that and feel that, the more that it is important for us to stand in our power of visualizing our highest good, our most loving good.
Yes, and I think what I'll do there as well on the record, when I do the edited version of this, I'm going to scroll through right here the 12 universal laws, so you can just kind of just quickly see what it is. Because again, it's not something you can always just recount just like that. What do the 12 universal laws look like? So we'll do that for you. So watch out for that on the edited version. Okay, so okay, Jolly, do you think that we now start to move forward towards God?
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, so this again, we did some of this last week and we're going to repeat it again for good reason, because this is important. This is the bit which we're talking about, that the Z's are talking about to us, that Pam's talking about, that Gregg is talking about, and that Kryon is talking about. So this is worth doubling down on these particular points. So Neil Donald Walsh's his conversations with God, we've got a little section of that. We've got a little bit of Lynne McTaggart where, again, he's just talking about how the one field that we can access out there, the power of our consciousness to move as a collective and raise the frequency and achieve results that would be impossible based off our programming and conditioning in life. But this is real, is really happening, and that's what is proved on that point. And then again, just a brief summary from Pam about the meditations that we're going to be doing on at 7 o'clock in the evenings, UK time, that is. Anyway, here we go. Bear with me.
Throughout history, you have had remarkable teachers, each presenting extraordinary opportunities to remember who you really are. These teachers have shown you the highest and the lowest of the human potential. They have presented vivid, breathtaking examples of what it can mean to be human, of where one can go with the experience, of where the lot of you can and will go given your consciousness. The thing to remember, consciousness is everything and creates your experience. Group consciousness is powerful and produces outcomes of unspeakable beauty or ugliness. The choice is always yours. If you are not satisfied with the consciousness of your group, seek to change it. The best way to change the consciousness of others is by your example. If your example is not enough, form your own group. You be the source of the consciousness you wish others to experience. They will when you do. It begins with you. Everything, all things. You want the world to change? Change things in your own world.
Now, I don't know about you, but I choose a world of unspeakable beauty.
What your work does that's so amazing is Western mind needs proof.
When we do the statistics, we gradually gather 500 experiments into one composite database. And when we look at the statistics for that, the departure from what's expected for random number generators is what the physicists call 7 sigma. The chance of that happening is 1 in a trillion.
So there are no Zoom links, no tech, no reminders, no recordings, no nothing. You just join energetically in a way that I'm about to describe to you. And I believe thousands, possibly tens of thousands of people are joining us, because this is a really wonderful, uplifting thing to do. The purpose of it is to accelerate the arrival of new Earth for humanity. If we can come together as a group and help to raise our frequency, and therefore we will be raising the frequency of the collective, so more people will be able to access this new Earth frequency, which is something which is very, very beautiful, because this is where we're all headed. And it just takes a small number of us. You know, there's so much evidence, as I've talked about many, many times, there's so much evidence out there of how a small number of us can do this. So I'm not leading it, we are all leading it. That's very important in true Aquarian style. We just take out of our busy lives 15 minutes per evening to really focus on raising the frequency of the collective to help people in desperate and extreme situations. But the main purpose of it is to accelerate the arrival of new Earth as a frequency for more people. And in doing that, that will bring peace, of course. So the idea here is that we imagine that we are a family of frequency. If you follow my work, we're all on a similar frequency. So imagine as you come together that we are all holding hands across the earth. We are connecting with our hearts across the earth. I always feel, you know, just drop into your heart. And the second we start, I can feel this incredibly strong, it's palpable, kind of heart vortex between us. Very powerful, kind of swirling energy as we connect. I mean, it's thrilling that we're doing this. And if you can't think of anything better, use the mantra, we're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. We're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love, because that is exactly what we're doing with this. So set a clear intention that this is for your highest good, the highest good of all, and the highest good of the earth. That's really important that you set those at the beginning. In doing this through the 15 minutes, just try and feel any emotions of love, joy, peace, compassion, gratitude, those kinds of emotions. And I'd suggest that if you'd like to, you can put people and animals in these extreme situations in the center of the circle, let's say. But it's really important that you don't focus on the negative of what they're experiencing. Rather, that we bring them peace, love, compassion, and joy. That we focus on where we want to get to, the emotions we want them to feel, rather than any negative emotions. And so you could imagine that there's a soft blue light, a very calming soft blue light comes into this meditation, and that encompasses all of those people in very extreme and distressed circumstances, that everything just calms down. Everything gradually comes back into harmony and balance and peace. Everything is soothed with this soft, pale blue light. That's quite a good idea. And so also I think it's wonderful to see all living beings, humans, animals, all living beings just feeling joyful, feeling happy, feeling respected, feeling cared for. There's abundant food for all, and there's this feeling just of a connection between all living beings. God bless. Thank you so much for listening. And we really are going to change, and we are changing the quantum wave structure with these very simple meditations. I'm so grateful for being here on this journey with you.
Thank you, Pam. And we're back. So the main point for really showing that again is that we're going to start during the week. We're going to start to have little YouTube get-togethers just before 7 p.m. UK time. And we're going to offer it out to anybody who could care to join us, because as per last week, we do have guided meditations that will take us through that. And what we'll do is we'll run with the open-ended one. So we'll get together maybe 10 minutes before 7 p.m. UK time, and then just again go through that. The guided meditation is great because it brings you through all those points that Pam has just mentioned, and then it just gives you time to go off on your own personalized journey where you find your bliss, you find that little utopia, your own version of the world of unspeakable beauty. You immerse yourself in that energy, but it's part of this collective energy, this unity consciousness, and that helps to elevate it. So this is now taking practical steps to elevate the consciousness. And we're going to start doing this, and it doesn't matter, you know, if it just turns out to be Jolé and I, and we do that together, that is fine too. But anybody who would be able to join us on those times, and we'll just advertise them in advance, just so that if you want to come along and join us on that, and if your preference is just to do your own little 7 p.m. one, then that's fine as well, right? It's just kind of whatever you want to do. But on Elevated Planet, you will find two different versions of the meditation, that guided meditation that Jolé's done for us, which again give you plenty of scope for you to use your own journey where you find your own bliss. That's all I want to say on that. Jolé, what would you care to add?
Not much. I think you summed it up nicely. So
cool. Yes. Well, in that case, then we are going to head into your meditation, correct?
all right, let's do it.
Right. Here we go, guys. We are going to switch screens again, and Jolé will work her magic.
Okay, so put your feet flat on the floor and your palms face up on your thighs. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest. And begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. And behind the darkness that's in your eyes, that focus on it and just feel this electricity of life running through your body. Feel it. All of the blood and the cells in your body, we're going to turn them heart-shaped, and those pathways, those veins, those arteries, those muscles, those ligaments are lined with gold. And just this beautiful sense of wellness, of belonging, of just being able, knowing that you are powerful enough to change the quantum wave structure, starting with you. So before we even ground into Mother Earth, we're just going to send beauty and joy and life and wellness all throughout our bodies from this space of love in the heart. It is your birthright, worthy and deserving of love and wellness and healing pulsating through your body as you ground your energy by visualizing a grounding cord that is 6 inches in diameter, connected to your first chakra between your sit bones, of a natural earth element. As this energy moves through what you're sitting or laying on, through the floor, working its way down through Mother Earth, traveling at the speed of love, your grounding cord roots itself into the core of Mother Earth, receiving all her nurturing energy, her love. Be receptive. As you give this beautiful energy to her, she gives it right back to you. But first, we're going to clean off our grounding cord by visualizing beautiful, lovely, golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles, blanketing the inside and the outside of your grounding cord. My grounding cord is like of a gold webbing. So beautiful. Whatever yours is, clean it off as you bring your awareness back to your heart and you allow for Mother Earth and her assistants to do their thing. As you bring your awareness back to your breath and you pull your aura in to be 1.5 feet around you, you command your higher self to stand at the power position above your crown, and you snap in that astral body. And as you breathe in through your nose and gently out through your mouth, visualize the bottoms of your feet opening like the lens of a camera as you call in that 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. While simultaneously, your crown opens and 85% cosmic gold comes raining down from the heavens, raining down on your higher self, coming down through your aura, focusing itself down your crown, and just lighting you up, electrifying all of the cells and the atoms in your body, because love recognizes love. It just let it fill you up. Let it bring more wellness. Let it bring more love, compassion, and forgiveness into all the cells of your body. You can feel that energy as you sit in your heart, and it moves past you, and it moves down into your belly, and it mixes in with that earth energy. And then it begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup. And warmth is just moving all throughout your body empowering you, lighting you up, taking you back to 0 point where everything is as it should be. Everything is interconnected. And as these pathways and these channels are just filling up with gold, with life force, with love, compassion, forgiveness, joy, moving up throughout all your body, your hand chakra opens and allows for this energy to start sprouting out and filling up your aura layer. As it starts to sprout out the side channel of your crown, releasing from your energy everything you're ready to let go of and release to move you into that new energy of neutrality, joy, subtlety, and peace. So from this place of love, I want you to light up that portal between your heart and your mind, the center of your head, rather. And move your awareness through this beautiful golden portal and up into the center of your head. And here, I want you to send down that portal all the way down the grounding cord. I want you to light it up and see it gold all the way down as that earth energy and that cosmic divine life force energy works with your body. I want you to remove and resolve by sending any negativity down, any worry, any doubt, any fear. Turn it bright red in your brain, in your mind, the prefrontal cortex, the limbic system, the cerebrum, the cerebellum, all those parts of the brain where there's worry, there's doubt, there's fear, there's dis-ease, illness. I want you to just send it all down your grounding cord, down that portal and down that grounding cord. As that earth energy and that 85% cosmic gold fill up those spaces and places in your brain where there was negative programming, limiting beliefs, past haunting you, DNA being repaired and reprogrammed for your wellness and your most loving good. This is your energy. Get rid of what no longer serves you and fill up with the possibilities that are limitless of unconditional love, wellness, abundance, and the laws of the universe, all coursing throughout your mind, your body, and your spirit. As the energy moves through you, and your heart and your mind are one. So as you fill up with this beautiful divine energy, and there is now a unity of consciousness within you, visualize your most loving good. See peace. See mankind coming together, holding hands across the universe, bathing illness and disease in that beautiful blue light, blue golden light of healing, of restoration. See mankind and humanity moving into a place of unspeakable beauty. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does it sound like? Feel that energy of bliss, of joy, of a high vibration, of your purpose unfolding before you. Breathe with the rhythm of your body. It is safe for you to have these things, be these things, and do these things. Let your nervous system know it is safe for me to be free. It is safe for me to be vulnerable. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body and you see that vision of yourself and your environment and mankind and Mother Earth, all healed and well, and there's magnificence and joy, bring that energy, that vision down into your heart. Move through that beautiful golden portal from the center of your head down into the center of your heart. And bring that energy and that bliss and that joy and that healing with you. And let that propagate. Let your heart beat with that rhythm all throughout your body and your systems, bringing in that love, that joy, and that togetherness. Bringing that within your body and changing that quantum wave structure to be one of neutrality, joy, and peace. So now, from a place of love, I want you to take a deep breath in, hold it, and gently exhale. Take another deep breath in and gently exhale and relax into your new energy. So now breathe in through your nose for a count of 5. Hold it for a count of 5. And exhale for a count of 5. And visualize your feet chakras closing like the lens of a camera, and that beautiful earth energy receding back into Mother Earth. Take another deep breath in. Hold it and exhale. This time, I want you to see a golden sun above your head. And this golden sun is your master manifestation energy. All of the things you saw in your mind and in your heart that have been programmed into your cells are going to be solidified, sent out into the world, and pave the way. So in this golden sun, put that master manifester juice straight from divine energy. This golden sun sits in that beautiful 85% cosmic gold that's raining down from the heavens. And all you have to do is just see the words Master Manifester on this golden sun. And that essence from the divine restructures itself, fills up that golden sun, and then it flows with that golden river of cosmic life force down through your higher self, breaking apart as it comes through that aura layer, focusing itself. Some of that energy going down the aura layers, the rest of it coming down through your crown, filling up every part of you, binding with those beautiful, loving cells, atoms, and just filling you up, meeting with the ones in the aura layer. As you see this essence just light you up all the way down your grounding cord, chasing away those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles as this essence binds, this beautiful divine essence binds to your grounding cord as those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles disintegrate into the core of Mother Earth, turning into life force energy for anyone to use. You take another deep breath in, and you close your hand chakras and your crown chakras, and you watch that divine life force energy ascend back up into the heavens. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jolé.
Absolutely.
Oh, that was a beautiful way to finish. Well, thank you. And yeah, wrap up time.
Wrap up time.
Let's do that. So again, as ever, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for the comments. Much appreciated. And as mentioned, we will be starting to venture into doing midweek YouTubes where we get together, and it's not going to be an elongated thing. We're going to start just maybe 10 minutes prior to the 7 o'clock meditation. Give us a chance to kind of get together, share any notes that we might have, and then we will begin that meditation, which will be the open-ended one, which means that you can just take it as long as you like, just stick to the 15 minutes maybe that Pam has suggested, or it could go on for longer. Do you think that sounds good there, Jolé?
Absolutely. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and we all could use it. That midweek check-in.
Yeah. Yeah. And the collective consciousness can definitely use it because we are elevating the frequency. And, this is what it's really all about. And at the end of the day, it's our weapon of choice. The darkness, the sons of darkness, or the sods, as I call them, sons of darkness, may be out there trying to do their thing, but we've got the more powerful weapons. And it's based on love, basically. So, cool. Anyway, the newsletter goes out tomorrow with the edited version of this recording. And basically, anybody who wants to join our newsletter, distribution list, send me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.live or through our website, which is elevatedplanet.live/contact. Page gets you through to our contact page, and you can send us whatever comments you wish to there as well. So any suggestions, thoughts, or anything you want to do that. And obviously there's the comments down below as well. We've also got attached there, we have the #1 field. We've got the details for that for you to access if you want to check that out, and also for the full version of Pam's meditation sort of suggested meditation techniques, because that was obviously just a small piece of that particular video. Other than that, Jolé, what do you think?
Like, share, and subscribe as always, and please join us next Sunday for another of our wonderful shows.
Says it all. Wonderful. Thank you, Jolé, and thank you everybody for being here. And we will see you next week, and maybe might even see you earlier on a Tuesday, on a 7 p.m. meditation as well. So take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.